Let's go to your phone calls. Again, recapping, the Fukushima #1 had a huge explosion Saturday morning. I said, looks like that'll probably cause more damage and problems for the emergency efforts, and they admit to stop the other 5 plants at that facility from melting down, the other nuke reactors. This morning, Fukushima #3 blew up with what looks to the eye about 10 times the explosive power, mushroom cloud, metal being ejected out of the middle, big black pieces of equipment that are gigantic, multi-stories tall. I hope that the reactor core is safe. I can't imagine how it would be in the middle of that. I can't imagine. And again, the meteorologists are on record, Fox, AP, you name it now, saying yes, the prevailing winds go right to the U.S. West Coast and the Canadian West Coast, and it could be anywhere from 3 days to 5 days before this starts hitting. And there's more reactors. We have maps up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. There are more reactors that are having trouble in Japan, not just at the Fukushima facility. And I'm talking about the chain reaction that could happen there. So Bob Bowman, nuclear physicist, said that he's not sure that the rods have been exposed. But on Friday, they were saying there was some melting in the rods. He's saying, but hopefully it's not as bad as it could be. But I don't trust the Japanese government. I don't trust our government. And I don't trust our media to warn you. Up on Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, DrudgeReport.com, there's mainstream articles about in Europe, they're grabbing the iodine off the shelves. But before you take iodine, read them, talk to your doctor, research it. But, they've got it as a dietary supplement for thyroid health. They say 2 drops a day for the average person with the average dose. But, again, I'm not going to give you advice. I'm telling you what I've done. In fact, I got to take my dose today. I've been taking it the last few days. Took it on air yesterday. My children are taking it. Let's talk to Tim in Germany. Tim, you're on the air.
Hello from Germany.
Yes, sir.
Always a pleasure to listen to you. I frequently listen to you from Germany. And regarding the situation with the prevailing winds bringing the stuff possibly to the United States, I would like to put out the question which you could put to your experts later possibly, if it would make sense to have, for example, the Evergreen supertanker, that fire extinguishing plane, being sent over to Japan and trying to create as much cloud condensation nuclei by spraying water, not on the reactor, not very close to the reactor, but...
Absolutely. The meteorologists can definitely, and they are, tracking day to day where this stuff's going. They could have planes go in, target it above it, put nuclei in to make it rain into the ocean. That's a great idea.
And what would be interesting, if you look, I've looked up some on the internet. I called the Evergreen guys last night. It was night in Germany at that point, and suggested it and left message on an answering machine there after the desk person put me through. And don't know if that's ever going to turn to something. Looked further up and found on some boards that would be considered by the normal informed people at conspiracy stuff, that Evergreen might be involved in chemtrailing as well. So it might be interesting to see if they would react.
Tim, what do you think about the Japanese government trying to claim a meltdown hadn't happened Saturday, but then 5 hours later admitting a meltdown had occurred? And many nuclear physicists here are still on the fence saying a meltdown might not have occurred. Even when the Japanese say a meltdown, at least a partial one did occur, people are still in denial.
Meltdown is meltdown. It doesn't matter if it's partial or not. The moment you lose the cooling or the controlled cooling of a reactor, that thing is going to heat up, as far as I understand the nuclear science with that. And it's going to burn itself into the ground, or it's going to blow up. If it's going to blow up, it's going to create quite a bit of dirty air and aerosols, which are currently mostly going to blow your ways. If they make it to the upper atmosphere, that's going to be even worse. So you've got that volcano in southwestern Japan that went off, I think, yesterday, or last couple of days.
Yes.
It became quite active again. What if the next one opens up? There's quite a bit of hypothesizing that can be done with that.
Well, we just showed a photo on screen after the explosion of the fire at the plant, and it's up on Infowars.com in the tiles. I mean, it is giant black plume, thousands of feet in the air going out to sea, and it's undoubtedly, admittedly, has cesium and radioactive iodine, so we know that's happening. And I read physicists from Hurwitz and others saying it's very toxic, very radioactive. We pray the uranium doesn't get out there. Thank you so much for your call from Germany. Let's talk to Kevin in Arizona. Kevin, you're on the air. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, Alex, I was wondering what you thought about hydro energy turbines, like oceanic turbines, as opposed to nuclear energy, just an alternative.
I think it's a great idea, and people make fun of Al Gore for it, but one of the few things he says is true, he exaggerated the temperature, is geothermal, drilling down into the earth and powering steam turbines that way. But the best thing we got going is clean-burning coal. All it puts out is carbon dioxide and water vapor, and that's why they're trying to shut that down.
Yeah. I think the combination between the oceanic hydro energy turbines, and then you could have the wind power turbines coming off the top of the thing, the combination of the two, I mean, you could put thousands of those things out in the ocean around Japan instead of having 58 nuclear reactors sitting on a fault line. I mean, pretty soon that island is going to be completely, I mean, the whole country is going to be completely uninhabitable one of these days.
Well,
sure. I mean,
you know what happened with Chernobyl and the nearby city of Kiev in Ukraine? Everybody just basically stayed there. And the deformities are off the charts. The cancers are off the charts. And so the Japanese aren't leaving their homes. They're just going to stay there. But the problem is, if all 6 of these plants go up, I mean, watching the footage of Reactor 3 blowing sky high, what do you think that's going to do to the other reactors?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, you're going to see more of this as time goes on. And it's just going to get worse. And their area of evacuation is going to get bigger. I know if I was living there, I'd get as far away from it as I could, even if I had to take a life raft to Hawaii. I mean, you know, whatever it took, I wouldn't stay there.
All right, I'm going to jump here, Kevin. Thank you so much. David in Washington, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. Yeah, I've got bad news and worse news. The bad news is that there was a cooling pool of spent nuclear fuel rods, yet still highly radioactive, that was next to unit number 3 that undoubtedly got taken out. And the really bad news is that particular unit, Unit 3, used plutonium in addition to uranium as the fuel, and the consequences you can imagine.
Explain what that means.
Well, plutonium is much more toxic than uranium, and it differs from Unit 1 in that Unit 1 was uranium only, so there's more bad stuff out in the environment, and I can see why the U.S. immediately moved the USS Ronald Reagan the heck out of there. It was 100 miles away to begin with, and they moved it even further away.
All right, I have been scanning all the news, but it's coming in so fast I was unable to read that. Where did you see the news? Because I know the plants vary there at that facility. Where did you read that this was a plutonium plant?
Sure. I'm looking at the Columbus Dispatch, and the article was by Stephen Mufson from the Washington Post.
What's the headline?
Headline, the article title is Japan's Nuclear Crisis Growing. Full or partial meltdowns possible at some reactors. Radioactive steam releases might go on for months.
All right. And 10 days of Chernobyl released 400 times, the London Guardian and the Atomic Energy Agency estimates what Hiroshima did. To give you an idea of how dirty these are, they're much dirtier than actual nukes going off, because nukes are designed to dissipate most of the radiation in the chain reaction. And I did just confirm that. Throw that headline back up for me, gentlemen. Jaron did just find that in mere seconds. That indeed it is a plutonium-based plant. And just from my novice research and understanding, that plutonium is many times more radioactive and dangerous than uranium. Correct, sir?
That's my understanding as well. You can ask your expert. I'm sure he'll have the exact facts.
There's the headline. I appreciate your call. Second explosion at Fukushima rocks plutonium burning reactor. Local reports remain vague and contradictory. And that is a report out of Belladonna, out of Amsterdam. Here's one out of the Columbus Dispatch that the guys just got into me. Best crew in the world, by the way, putting up with me today. Japan's nuclear crisis growing. Full or partial meltdowns possible as some reactors' radioactive steam releases might go on for months. And it does go on to report that it was a plutonium-based reactor. Whoa. Whoa, I didn't know that. Thank you, David. Wow. Let's talk to Richard in Vermont. Richard, you're on the air.
How you doing, Alex? Okay, I'm here, and now I can, the guy kind of took the air out of my balloon there, the guy that just spoke with you. They said, and this is a quote from an article that Kurt Nemo put up on Saturday, I believe it was, on his article. He spoke with a physicist, Mr. Goto, I believe he's Japanese, sounds pretty Japanese, calculated that because reactor number 3 at Fukushima Daiichi, where the pressure is rising and there was at that time a risk of an explosion, used a type of fuel known as MOX, spelled M as in Mary, O-X, a mixture of plutonium oxide and uranium oxide. The radioactive fallout from any meltdown might be twice as bad, and I've built nuclear reactors inside of atomic submarines for about 13 years, and I read up on what I was doing down there and what the dangers might have been down there while I was building the submarines. And I read a book called The Turning Point by Fritjof Capra, and he's a world-renowned nuclear physicist who turned into a person who just wanted to help humanity, and he stopped being a physicist because of what he knew was going on. And he said that a single dust particle that's been exposed to uranium, radioactive plutonium, a single particle of dust inhaled by a dog will kill the full-grown dog within a day. Okay, so that's how powerful this plutonium is, and that's what the mixture with uranium is in this reactor number 3. Whereas reactor number 1 only had the cesium and the uranium. So this one is potentially 10 times. Like you said, the cloud that went up, and I watched it go up this morning, was 10 times taller, more intense than the one that went off on the other one. The reason for that being that much higher.
Absolutely, I had forgotten that Kurt had actually done the research and written about that in his Meltdown Confirmed article, because so much data is coming in. That's why I'm so frustrated. It's so many times worse than I could even mentally deal with, and we have confirmed that, yes, that plant is one of the only ones in the world to use MOX fuel. They had to get special permission from the Japanese government because they're so dangerous when they do melt down. 7% plutonium, 93% uranium, and that's why the Japanese government said that if it did blow up, it would be a much larger explosion, and you did see how big it was, but they're saying it was caused by hydrogen. Do you buy that a hydrogen could, that looked like a nuke going off, didn't it?
Yes, it did. The flame that you saw at the beginning of the explosion was the hydrogen igniting. That hydrogen ignited because it mixed with the oxygen that was in the air in there, and I swear from my own knowledge of the containment of reactors that...
Stay there.